Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Rahul Gandhi today held up a book on Parliament premises as he doubled down on his claim that the Modi government mishandled the border dispute with China. Now, this is the same book that leader of opposition Gandhi wanted to cite in the Lok Sabha but was stopped as it is not published yet. He asserted that he was only quoting from a magazine article that carried excerpts from his book. But he could not, as the Lok Sabha Speaker and the ruling BJP led NDA cited rules against such quoting. Now, today, that is on the third consecutive day of the controversy, Rahul Gandhi brought a printed version of the book, which is currently pending for approval with the Ministry of Defense to the Parliament premises and flashed it to the cameras. So basically, Rahul Gandhi has upped the ante on the traitor jibe, but has Rahul Gandhi successfully proven Prime Minister Modi as a compromised Prime Minister? This is what we'll be discussing amidst all the other issues which are pending in Parliament. Not to forget the Indo-US trade deal, not to forget that how 8 parliamentarians have been suspended just because they were saying that the LOP, that is Rahul Gandhi, was not allowed to speak. And that, of course, itself is in its own way a big issue, that how to the motion of thanks of the president's address, LOP was not allowed to speak what he thought. So this evening joins us former diplomat, columnist, author, and the national spokesperson of the Jan Suraj Party. Pavan Varma joins us this evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Varma, for joining, and it's always a pleasure having you on the program. And I
Thank
would like to
you.
begin, sir, I would like to begin with this General Naravane's book, 4 Stars of Destiny, which is all over the social media, just because Rahul Gandhi wanted to read out certain excerpts in Parliament. Uh, Basically nailing the government on the national security issue and how the government failed to tackle this in 2020 when the Galwan clashes happened. Now, what do you think about this controversy? Has Naravne's book really, this episode, is it really turning out to be some kind of a turning point, if I may say, in the entire narrative which the government is trying to project before the people?
Thank you, Neelu. Always a pleasure to talk to you. My own assessment is that I don't think it is a turning point in that sense, but I do believe that under the concerned rules of the House, and I have been a member of Parliament, uh, you could disallow a speaker, and that to someone of the rank and stature of leader of opposition, from citing a text which is related to the business of the House. You see, the concerned article says that you can only cite a particular text published in a magazine or elsewhere in the newspaper or in the book if it relates to the business of the House. Now, the President's address, as you know, Neelu, is an omnibus address, where on behalf of the government, the President reads out and gives a comprehensive overview of what the government's achievements are in a wide variety of fields, which include international relations and national security. So, actually, the President's address provides you a platform to discuss almost the entire gamut of issues: economic, political, international, defense, and security, and much more. So, when Rahul Gandhi stood up to speak on an issue of national security, which was a reference in the president's address, I don't believe he could have been disallowed. I think what really happened was that perhaps, and it's my surmise, the treasury benches were taken by surprise when he began to cite an excerpt from a book which, as per what the leader of opposition said, has been prevented from being published. But nevertheless, today he brought a copy of the book, which is still pending approval for publication. And he also had with him an excerpt from the book which was published in a magazine. So, to completely disallow any reference to this when it relates to the business of the House was, I think, not an appropriate decision on behalf of the Speaker, because, in fact, it would not have become such a big controversy or not have highlighted what was written by General Naravane in his book. Had the BJP allowed him to speak and then interpreted what exactly General Naravane said in a light that would not have shown the BJP's fundamental lack of decision making or neglect of security, but by completely muzzling the leader of opposition, I don't think it has handled the particular issue particularly well.
No, but what do you think really irritated the government? Like what you said, that the government must have been taken by surprise because they didn't expect Rahul Gandhi to make a statement like this. Now, if Rahul Gandhi, if the leader of the opposition is wanting to make a point through a certain excerpt of a book and then he being disallowed, but why do you think that the government got irritated and completely disallowed him from making his speech?
You see, I think the government has a self image of being a strong government, and in many ways it has proved to be one. A strong government that stands up for India's national security, and it has demonstrated it in Balakot and in other situations. Now, to have the army chief, no less, a former army chief, saying that he felt profoundly isolated for lack of clear instructions from the political leadership of the country in a situation of crisis was not a very flattering image of the government. So I think the government overreacted. Uh, uh, in that sense, they did try to stop him. And let me say to you, the president's address being an occasion to refer to a wide gamut of issues, it's an omnibus address. So the previous speaker, Tejasvi Surya, for instance, under the awning of speaking on the president's address, attacked the Congress party for lacking what, in his view, was the nationalistic spirit. Now, it had nothing really to do with the president's address. If you look at it directly, it was a direct attack on the not only the Congress party but the opposition as such, claiming, on the contrary, that the ruling party had a monopoly almost on patriotism, nationalism, and a concern for the nation's security. Now, in response, if the leader of opposition is citing something which relates as much to the business of the House, if Tejasvi Surya can be allowed to speak about the opposition in such a manner, so is the leader of opposition. I would say fairly, without taking sides, that to muzzle the leader of opposition under an interpretation of the rules which have not been applied in the past. People have quoted texts, people have cited books, published or unpublished. But merely to say because the book is published, you cannot cite it is not enough reason.
But you do see this as selective interpretation of rules as far as the rules of the House are concerned.
Well, the final decision does lie with the speaker. But the House expects that even if the speaker has any biases, they will be subordinated to a fair conduct of the proceedings of the House. It's an expectation. In fact, the onus of running the House lies with the Treasury benches. Now, if the Treasury benches don't allow the opposition to be able to give expression to its point of view, in my view, you are creating or reinforcing the complete breakdown of trust across the aisle between the Treasury and the opposition. So
Right.
I think presiding officers must retain a sense of impartiality and neutrality in these matters, because otherwise the opposition, not that I justify any kind of unparliamentary behavior, and I have never indulged in it myself, but it does then lead to a complete breakdown of decorum. And incidentally, the fact that the House's proceedings were disrupted was rationalized in an earlier incarnation when the BJP was in opposition by no less than the leaders of the two houses, Arun Jaitley and Sushma Swaraj, who said that it is a form of democratic action. So when it's done by the opposition, it's wrong. When you do it, it's right. Both sides are wrong, frankly,
Right.
because in its entire history, the House of Commons has not been adjourned for a single day. And we are fast reaching a situation when there is not a single day when the House is not adjourned. This is no way to run Parliament. But on the other hand, if you don't allow a fair discussion on issues, I think it will lead to a further breakdown of trust.
It almost looks like a stalemate now in Parliament, and especially in Lok Sabha, what's happening. And not to mention that 8 MPs were suspended just because they threw some paper bits at the chair. Now, that, of course, no one can defend that kind of an action. But then the government forced the opposition to be, so that the speaker acknowledges as to what the opposition is wanting to say. And they were merely saying that the LOP should be allowed to make his point, and that's what it led to. And now the MPs have been suspended. Do you think that this was a drastic or an extreme step taken by the speaker? Not that it has not happened before. We've also seen the precedent where so many MPs in Rajya Sabha were suspended en masse when bills were being passed. But what would you
You
say
see,
to an approach like
Neelu,
that by the three
there is
benches?
there is no rationale under which I can justify the deliberate subversion of parliamentary decorum. But to ensure that this does not happen, there has to be a sense that the House will be conducted fairly. Now, presiding officers come under a lot of pressure, sometimes from both sides of the aisle. Uh, but in this case, when Mr. Rahul Gandhi began to speak, and he was opposed by leaders of the BJP of the likes of Rajnath Singh and Amit Shah, and the Prime Minister was present in the House. The Speaker was, I think, under some pressure not to yield to the opposition. Uh, this, in my view, with full respect to the Speaker, is unfortunate. We already know, for whatever reasons it may have happened, what happened to what could be the reasons behind the unceremonious exit of another chairman of the other house, Mr. Dhankar. So essentially, what I'm saying is that once you become the presiding officer, which is a very high constitutional post, you are above party loyalty and should be.
In this particular case, rather than suspending the MPs outrightly and saying that this of course was a loss of decorum, what we and a violation of the parliamentary decorum, but if the government was in a mood to really dialogue with the opposition, rather than suspending, they could have called them, maybe censured them a little. The speaker could have called them in the room, but outrightly just suspending, how do you justify that as well?
No, I don't think that that is possible anymore. You see, this kind of dialogue happens when there is still some remnants of trust between both sides. Today, the really unfortunate thing is that the trust factor between the Treasury and the opposition, not only in Parliament but nationally, has broken down. And so neither side is willing to listen to the other. We are a civilization known for Sabya Samvad, civilized discourse. We have remarkable examples like the great debate between Adi Shankaracharya and Mandan Mishra, who were fiercely opposed to each other's points of view but debated for weeks, and it changed the evolution of the way Hindu philosophy finally progressed. But somehow we've lost that a bit. And so we don't talk with each other, we talk at each other. And in this situation, I think to some extent both parties are to blame. But if you are in the opposition, there would be reasons why you believe that there is little to be gained by trying to be reasonable with the government when there are elections. It's the opposition parties which are investigated by the CBI, the ED, or the income tax authorities or other such agencies. 95% of the cases registered by the ED, Enforcement Directorate, are against opposition leaders. When in the current government, I think over 40% of the ministers have declared in their sworn affidavit to the Election Commission that there are criminal cases pending against them, including murder, attempt to murder, conspiracy, theft, and cheating. Why are these never investigated? Why is there a perception that there is a washing machine where if you switch sides, cases are dropped? Now, I'm not saying these allegations are necessarily true, but it further breaks down that trust that we are always being targeted by means, to use the English expression, fair or foul, and that there is little to be gained by building a sense of dialogue with the government. I do not say that this is right. A democracy only subsists on dialogue, but this seems to have become the situation.
No, but do you think now that this episode, because BJP is known as a party which keeps talking about the nationalistic narrative, that they are the ones who stand by the side of the army, they've always been tom-tomming about this narrative. Do you think that this Naravane's book being held up by Rahul Gandhi in this manner, has that punctured that Rashtravadi narrative of the BJP, which it keeps often talking about? When they don't have any other issue, they latch on to patriotism, they'll latch on to nationalism. So has this narrative of BJP got punctured?
Not fully. Not fully. The BJP, of course, rightly or wrongly, depending on which side of the political spectrum you are, believes it has a certain monopoly on patriotism, a claim which is very strongly rebutted by the opposition. But I don't think that one incident can change it, because the BJP has demonstrated, or the BJP leadership, sorry, or the government, in fact, I should say, that they can take a strong stand against threats to the country's security, which incidentally are developments which I endorse and support. We have been far too accommodating and weak-kneed in our response in the past, including in BJP governments. For instance, when we released 3 terrorists and the foreign minister no less escorted them
Yeah.
to Kandahar, or on other occasions, we have been weak-kneed during the UPA rule as well. So the government has acted strongly, and in fact, a second election of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is attributed largely to Pulwama and the action the government took subsequently. So I don't think this narrative has been fully punctured. But by disallowing the LOP, you made it larger than life. Everybody
Right.
wants to now read the book. Everybody has on their phone or WhatsApp an excerpt of what appeared in a particular magazine. So it
And no,
gets far more circulation.
not only this, Congress today has come out with an artificial intelligence video where they have actually caricatured this entire episode of how the Jawans are calling up Naravane and saying what's to be done. The Chinese army is advancing towards us. Then Naravane calls up Rajnath. Rajnath calls up Prime Minister Modi. Now this is an AI video which millions and millions of people are going to watch, and this is created by Congress. Now, what do you think that this kind of a thing is going to have any impact in terms of projecting Prime Minister Modi's image as a compromised PM? Now, and that brings me to the question what we are asking today: that has Rahul succeeded in projecting Prime Minister Modi as a compromised PM?
I don't think so, because in case that indeed is your goal, you need to have a far more sustained campaign, not in parliament only, but on the ground outside. For
Yeah.
that, you need an organized campaign, a strong organizational uh, capacity. And that is one thing the Congress party lacks. Its, uh, its workers, its leaders are never on the ground to take anything forward in a manner that is sustained where it actually has impact. So, these are episodic. The Congress party must, for any campaign, be it against the abolition of the old Manrega, be it against crony capitalism, be it against now national security, you need a party which has the ability and the organizational strength to convert an allegation into a sustained campaign which begins then to affect the way people see the obvious target of your allegation. But if you don't do it, it becomes episodic. And so far, the Congress has not been able to do it well enough, in my assessment.
Right. So Naravane's book is just one episode. I also want to talk to you. You yourself being a former diplomat. I want to talk to you about the Indo-American trade deal as well, which has been inked or signed. We do not know. We've not seen the fine print. But what does it look like? What does this trade deal to you look like? Does it look like India having given too many concessions to America? And what people are saying that, there's a pressure of Adani, there's pressure of Epstein files. A lot of things are being talked about by the opposition. And not to forget Rahul Gandhi also holding out posters on Naravane's book and Epstein files as well. Do you think that there is some kind of a pressure which was working on the minds of Trump and Modi both, and after which, because this deal was pending for the last 4.5 months, and all of a sudden we hear that this deal has been finalized?
You see, Neelu, unqualified euphoria about the deal on behalf of the government and its party spokespersons, and blind condemnation of the deal by the opposition are both misplaced and premature. For the simple reason that we don't yet have the legal text of the deal. We don't know yet the the item wise schedules. We don't know the timelines. We don't know the tech agreements. We have only seen so far Piyush Goyal holding a cursory press conference and making a declaratory statement in the parliament. You have to see the details, and there are pros and cons on both sides. The pros, to my mind, if I may quickly say, are that I think it restores the unfortunate acrimony in Indo-US relations. It restores once again a certain element of goodwill, and it's important for India. Uh, Secondly, without doubt, I think it boosts investor confidence, the fact that a deal could be held. Thirdly, there is no doubt that from the punitive and partisan 50% tariffs, a reduction to 18% will provide an incentive to many key industries in India, including textiles, footwear, gems, jewelry, and so on and so forth, some engineering products as well, and make our goods more competitive. So now these are, and certainly you've seen the markets react. It is interpreted by the market as a positive step. Now there are also the cons. The first important cons are, and I'm saying this when we don't have any details.
Yeah.
The first con, of course, is that uh, American goods, when exported to India, will attract 0% tariff, whereas Indian goods will attract 18%. So, is there enough the component of equity? Of course, 18% is less than 50%, so it's a gain. But 18% is 18 times more than zero. Until last year, it was 2.5%. So we have to see what impact in which sector this will have Secondly, in my view, we have to see what are the unclarified gray areas in this deal. Does this mean that we would need to phase out or cut down our imports of Russian oil? Now, imports of often discounted or heavily discounted Russian oil is not about oil only. It's about preserving a strategic partnership with Russia where our defense and security interests, to talk only of one area, is very, very important even today. It's been a time tested friend. So, what impact will it have on it there? And merely buying from the lowest source for energy needs like fuel, like Venezuela, for instance, as is being talked about, is may not be enough because you need to see if that crude is actually corresponds to your needs in terms of quality. Thirdly, I don't know what impact this will have on India Iran relations. And again, what is the understanding in this deal? Because we have important strategic interests in Iran, including the Chabar port and energy pipelines. And it's important for us. So I don't know what is the subtext to that. Lastly, I think we need to see very carefully what this agreement actually entails for our all important agricultural sector. We've seen a tweet or a post by the US Agriculture Secretary saying that a very large market is going to open up for American farmers. Now, in a country like ours, where 50% of the workforce is in agriculture, we have to see whether highly subsidized American imports and far more efficiently produced will impact our farmers, especially in certain critical areas, which I don't have time to go into, but I'm talking about this broadly. Therefore, the government, of course, assures us that no red lines have been crossed in terms of protection to the farmer or Russian oil or whatever. But we need to see the full text and have a full disclosure on all these points. Once we have it, then we can come to an assessment whether the deal is good for us or better for America, what we gain and what we lose. So, immediate reactions, I think, are premature.
But the question is that the opposition has been raising a number of issues. Now, I'll quickly go through it once. Like you said that the fine print is not ready. The euphoria on both sides looks premature. So the question number one is that should they have announced it like this on the Twitter, and why did Trump announce it? That's also a question which opposition has been raising. Second question is that if we have agreed to buy oil from Venezuela and America, then what about Russia? What about our relationship? So are the questions which are being raised by the opposition, are they misplaced in any way? The kind of
I,
questions which are
I
being asked.
myself, I myself have gone into the pros and cons, and it is the job of the opposition to raise areas which need clarification or on which they have apprehensions in the national interest. I'm just saying that we must await the full details. The trade deal has been under negotiation for considerable period of time. Why President Trump chose to put it on his Truth Social or as a post, who can ever second guess President Trump? Is
Hmm.
mercurial.
No, but even PM Modi responded to it on the Twitter.
Well, PM Modi responded to it because between President and Prime Minister, he posted something, he welcomed it, but both sides have not yet provided the details. Now, when I say that this either being euphoric or being overly critical at this stage, when you don't have the detail, I would like to see the full legal text of the agreement and
Right.
then ask the questions.
Right.
But what often happens, and that too is related to the other question of complete breakdown of trust. Before you have anything, it's either fully defended or fully condemned.
Right.
That is the unfortunate political milieu in the country.
Right. But my last question, Mr. Varma, is that, it puts India in a very confused state. Now, for example, why I'm saying this is that you have White House spokesperson Caroline Levitt talking to Sky News or Fox News. I don't remember which channel exactly, but she's given out details, some details she's given out about the deal. Then, similarly, you have the US trade representative, that is Jamison Greer. He's spoken to news channels. And today, opposition has raised these questions that if we have these US representatives talking about the deal, why is India unclear about it? So, does it put India in a bad light that India is not clear about it, but it has been euphoric and it has been declaratory?
The American president and his team are past masters in singing for the gallery in their own country. And therefore, they would like to tout this quote unquote breakthrough as something good for America. And of course, it does open up a market for America. If there is any commitment, I believe one of the provisions is that we will buy up to 500 billion US dollar, 500 billion worth of goods, not immediately, but over the next few years. So it opens up markets for America. They would like to tout it. Here too, the government is playing to its own gallery by saying this is good for India. I'm not saying that either of this is right. All I'm saying is that for those who wish to have an informed critique or appraisal of this treaty, we need to have the full text. Until I see it, I've been a diplomat, I've been a bureaucrat, I am a politician. Unless you have the text and you see the fine print, to prematurely give it a verdict immediately, instantly, as Rahul Gandhi said, देश को बेच दिया, हमारे किसानों का खून पसीना बेच दिया. I mean, that it's good rhetoric. And as some of the BJP spokesperson now tag it as one of the biggest breakthroughs ever. Now, all of such reactions are frankly immature. I want to see the text.
Right. All right. So we'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Mr. Varma. Always a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
किधर जाते हो?